in that spirit, of actually delivering things, what kind of goal do you think we should set? I mean, of course, I asked you a question just a moment ago about what you thought were healthy cyber ecosystem, I think was your expression.
Right.
Of course, we wanted to, I mean, we have sort of a vague notion of safety. We want to have protection from malicious use. We want also to have economic activities to be very vigorous.
Right.
At the same time, I mean, when we come to actual things, I mean, we don't really have a clear vision of what the healthy, safe, and vigorous cyber society is.
Right.
Do you have your views on this? I mean, this can be
have
very
a lot of views, but
tentative. Is okay, and your view is okay.
Okay, I think I want to talk about some sort of concrete outcomes that the dialogue could help in just two areas, right? One being more economic, and the other one being more of a national security issue.
Right.
But and we discussed some of this today during both my talk and during the panel. The first issue is the notion of trying to get to some concrete principles that could be actually put into agreements on digital trade, right? So I think, one set of thinking about a vibrant internet and a digital economy is that you can move data and information globally, but then, this comes up against concerns by governments for safety of personal information and barriers to digital free trade. So the Japanese have been leading a dialogue around digital free trade with trust probably being common views of what appropriate privacy protections are in place and levels of cybersecurity so that the data that's being exchanged isn't corrupted and it protects people's rights, right? So I think the type of people we convene could write actual specific types of things that would be used in trying to get to a common approach between the nations that really want to have the right to share data, but need to trust that it works in their context, right? So that's one area. The other area we talked about is more of a national security type of issue, which is it is a scary environment because cyberspace it's hard to figure out who's attacking, what their motives are, and that because we're suspicious of each other, that can result in escalation, right? So are there things that can be specifically done to reduce the risk of misperception in communication? And things like we brought up the notion of a cyber hotline, which people started to think might be a good idea, so that if you're suspicious of an activity and if another government is actually perpetrating that activity, the ability to talk, with them and just like either they hang up their phone immediately and you're just like, yep, it was them committing it, or they go, no, it was not us, it's this activity that we'll go investigate. So try to reduce sort of uncertainty and come up with practical measures that have been worked in other sorts of similar sorts of situations, or some of the technologists going that certain features could be put into the infrastructure that makes it more assured that the interactions come from the place that they seem to be coming from. I think there's a lot that can be done to build confidence and trust, and that the group should focus on recommending practical measures in that regard.
Yes, and yes, I agree very strongly, actually, of the importance of being practical. At the same time, I mean, you just mentioned about the principle, and you mentioned in your speech about how even the principle of democracy, even in the U.S., is under discussion or even under stress. And but by the way, that's precisely the reason why we started Cyber Civilization Research Centers. We Keio University have recognized the need to think right from the very fundamentals to think about issues like, I mean, the actual questions are very practical, like the actual meaning of trust.
Right.
And how we technologically and institutionally ensure trust. But trying to really address these questions, we come to these the kinds of conflict. I think the one you mentioned is the conflict between freedom of speech and trust and the security.
Right.
And trying to come up with serious answer to these may have to start from questioning the very fundamental principles.
I think that's right. I mean, when we talk today, this notion that cybersecurity now increasingly is getting into whether the content that comes through cyberspace is trustable or secure.
Right.
And again, I think you have to, I personally would segregate those two issues, right? Trust is sort of a judgment, that's made, because the source of the information is, one that you think is legitimate. That's very different from a security perspective, both a national security perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that distinction was very useful. I mean, we can be very expansive about our coverage, but that leads to some confusion. So
right, so I think that helping keep discussions in the right, around the right issues framed rigorously, right? Which again, my opinion is academia is at its best when it's rigorous and, and fostering a disciplined analysis of an issue, which the public, like the media and politicians and government aren't necessarily incentivized to put that rigor into how they discuss an issue. I think academia can help in that regard.
Great. Let's show to the world what academia can do.
Yes, definitely.
Great. Well, thank you very much. We very much look forward to this collaboration, and let's keep on working.
Yeah, we've started something I think will be very good.
Good. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.